Hey friends, if you are building a movement and not just a moment, you need a strategy that matches your ambition. That's why I am very excited to invite you to GiveCon. It's May 17th through the 20th in St. Louis. It's Bloomerang's annual conference designed just for nonprofits, packed with sessions on some of my favorite things: donor retention, AI, automation, major gifts, recurring revenue, of course, and community-driven campaigns that move people and inspire them to give. So you will leave this event with very practical tools, smarter strategies, and the momentum and people to push your mission further. So if you're ready to turn some insights into impact, you can go over and register now at givecon.com. That's givecon.com.
I think we're 10 years in the making of what we're going to see with recurring giving. The default assumption is you're going to give a gift, and maybe you'll give another one. Maybe you'll give 2.3 gifts a year, or whatever the number is, right? And it's like, what if we broke that? And what if we assumed the default was monthly?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Monthly Giving Awareness Week. If you are not already aware, we are midway through, because if you're listening to this live, today is Wednesday, and I want to direct you to monthlyGivingWeek.com, where there has been a week full and continuing of resources for you: webinars, podcasts, infographics, and the monthlies. So the deadline to enter the monthlies, it's like our Webbies. It's our Oscars. It's our ability to highlight your monthly giving program. We want to celebrate it. There's 3 organizations that we will spotlight. So if you exemplify innovation and community building and sustainable revenue, which is what we're all here for, through recurring giving, and think you deserve a spotlight, which I think you do, and I know our guest here, Dave, thinks you do too, head on over to monthlyGivingWeek.com, and it's a very simple application. Fill that out. The deadline to apply is today. We also have an infographic that is new, that is out today: Monthly Giving by the Numbers. RKD Group is sharing some benchmark data. And then you have Monday and Tuesday to catch up on for all the exciting things that have already been put out. Tomorrow, there's going to be a monthly giving audit that you can access. John and Becky, We Are For Good, have their impact up, focused on story. I mean, y'all, there's just so much good stuff. So again, don't feel pressure to do it all, but pick and choose what meets you in this season. And today, I'm thrilled to have a repeat guest, my good friend Dave, Imago Consulting. And Dave has launched a brand new Center for Sustainable Giving. He's the godfather of the Center of Sustainable Giving now. And we are here to just talk about something that we are both extremely passionate about, and that is the future and the future potential of where we think recurring giving can grow and be in this sector, and for the individuals that are your recurring donors, and what that means for also our world and generosity. So Dave, welcome back.
Oh, so good to be back. I love May and the fact that we're shining a bright spotlight on what's happening in this space. And it reminds me of the early days of like this digital fundraising thing, Dana, like the godfather. I'm glad you didn't say grandfather, because some days I feel in that vein, because I'm like, back in my day when we had new media, do you know we used to call it new media, Dana?
I do remember that, actually.
New media. But it was kind of like the early days. We were figuring it out, and it was exciting, and it was frustrating, and it was a new frontier. And I feel like that's where we're at with recurring giving today. And so it's like, ooh, I've been here before. I love this.
Which is one wild that it's 2026 and that we are talking about it like it's new, which is very interesting. We have both been talking about it for quite a while. I kind of did a short teaser about the Center for Sustainable Giving, and I know we've talked about this, but what made you want to build in this moment a like quote unquote like center around it? And I think we joked like this is currently not like a physical center structure building. However, if there is such a person that would like to provide funding for such a thing,
Yes, if you would like to build us a big shiny building for sustainable giving, we'll figure out how
That
to
would be
use
cool.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So lead on. What was the genesis of this?
You know, in some ways, it's a logical extension of the work that you and I and others, increasingly others, have been doing in this sector. But I wanted there to be something that could really be kind of a tent pole, for lack of a better term, in our sector for sustainable recurring giving. And so the Center for Sustainable Giving exists to basically do one thing: grow generosity. And what does it look like to actually have a collecting place for leaders to come to learn how to grow sustainable giving? And so fundamentally, it's grow generosity. And I'm a huge fan of leaders growing both themselves, which then leads them to growing their organizations. And so that's really the gist of the center. I mean, we have this kind of like fourfold mission to really help, I think, make a dent in this. And time will tell, but I really am hopeful and anticipating what could possibly be.
Shaking things up. I love it. We were both talking about before I hit record that I just came from AFB Icon and I had a booth there for the first time. And Cindy Wagman and I were really the only consultants on the floor. And we talked about we just need to take up space. Like monthly giving recurring just needs to take up space. It just needs to be in. I had an episode a few weeks ago that was, why is your monthly giving program not growing? People think it's going to be very tactical. And I was like, because you're not talking about it, because it's not on your calendar, because it's not on your agendas. And you and I have talked about like a recurring first culture and just the immersive culture of monthly giving at organizations. What have you seen with organizations you work at that are seeing momentum versus those that are not over the years? What's been maybe some differences?
Well, I mean, let's hit what you just said in the first thing, which is this: it's not always the case, but most of the time, there's some level of what we might refer to as the sustainer first mindset. Like it's something that's not just like a nice to have, like, yeah, we should totally do that as one of our portfolio of 12 things we're doing right now. And I think of the conversations I've had with leaders over the years, whether that's Sophia Machado Lemus at Operation Smile, who we had on our Sustainable Giving podcast this last season, talking about Op Smile, said, nope, we're going to be sustainer first. And they went so far in that they were like, oh, maybe we should have asked for single gifts in December. They're like, yeah, that's a good idea. Or you think of organizations, certainly Charity Water, who've just like very almost myopically, like very narrowly, like, nope, we're not about anything else but this, to some of the organizations that you've been able to work with, that I've been able to work with. And so I do think that's a common denominator, is that it's one of, if not the top priority.
I would wonder, and I don't know if there's been a study, and I know part of like what you're building is the research, like hyper focused in recurring giving, because there's lots of reports that are general fundraising around like the number of organizations that have that sustainer first mentality.
Yeah, and it's unmistakable. In fact, I wrote when I wrote the book, it was like the one chapter for me that I was like, because as you know, I am very research minded, very like, what's the data say? And it's the one that's felt like the squishiest to me. But I'm like, I cannot escape. Even if you look at big nonprofits, even today, like World Vision, for example, who've cleared the $1 billion mark a while ago, which for a nonprofit is rare, rarefied air. And the fact that they spent decades being sustainer first. And so, like, there's definitely data as far as just this kind of correlation between organizations that have really thrived in this space and that kind of sustainer first mindset. But yeah, there's no like test and control, kind of like, well, we went sustainer first for 1 month and then we went single gift first for another month. And honestly, Dana, I think in the US especially, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, but I think we live in what I would call a single gift mindset in the US. Like,
oh, for sure.
It's the air we breathe, it's the water we swim in. We don't even think about it. But that the default assumption is you're going to give a gift, and maybe you'll give another one, maybe you'll give 2.3 gifts a year, or whatever the number is, right? And if you'd like, you can check the box, or you can quote unquote upgrade to recurring giving. And it's like, what if we broke that? And what if we assumed the default was monthly?
I was just on a strategy call with an organization yesterday as we're recording this. And it was all about, we need to convert these one-time people. And I'm like, some of them will never. They won't, because the messaging wasn't the right way when they came in, or they just don't give in that way ever. And to have the thought of the sustainer first, recurring first is a totally different. I have a whole talk about this that I'm forming right now. It's the pre-awareness. It's the recurring belief being built in and changed. It's the whole culture of giving. Like you were talking about, you first started this conversation about the sweep of digital marketing and new media coming in. I was at an agency in 2015, and our digital team was new. It was newly formed, which sounds kind of crazy, but we were still newly forming that. And now I feel like we're newly forming this. We're also in a newly, like everyone around AI, like there's going to be a lot of advancements and it's happening faster than ever. And I think before there's kind of been this, I don't know if it's ever been okay to be slower at adoption of things, but like, I just don't think that's going to be acceptable anymore. Like organizations have been able to be slow and still exist. And I don't know if that's going to be the case like a decade from now, like not adopting these practices. Because I talk to lots of organizations, I'm sure you do too, about like the generational wealth gap and the giving being so different. Like the FEP data that comes out about the gifts are high, but that's because there's an over reliance on majors, but the actual number of donors is lower. Like culturally, I think we have to be asking in a different way. And I know we both follow the subscription economy, and it's not like we as the consumer market don't already give in our wallet this way. And I just think it's going to be this new, either you're accepting of the sustainer first culture or you're not, and then you're going to see the ramifications down the line.
Yeah. And I know this has been a core part of just who you are and how you show up, but I think we need to shine a spotlight on it, this idea of belief. I think it starts inside at the organization. The way I say it, or I think about it, is that belief precedes growth. And I don't know about you, but we'll have organizations reach out to us to work with us. And there's almost like an imperceptible, like, do you really believe it? Like, do you believe this is for you? And I'm realizing that so much of the work we're doing, there are tactics and strategies that we can use to grow recurring giving, like no question, proven, read the book, right? But at the same time, if you don't really believe it's for you, then you're not going to do the work that's required of you to actually take advantage of this moment.
That's right. Have you read The Science of Scale, or 10x is easier than 2x?
I hoped you would bring that up, Dana. I've been seeing you on the LinkedIn's. I'm like, oh, you and I are like living a little parallel. Like, I love that. That
kind
whole
of obsessed.
Idea. Well, I will say offline or online, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm torn, but I think it's like so powerful, this concept. And I think you should explain it for our listeners, but like this idea that 10x is easier than 2x.
Because it makes you focus in the most simplistic way. We live in the world, you and I, and pretty much everybody lives in a world of let's just increase our growth by 2%, 5%. That would be great. That would be phenomenal in a lot of times. But that keeps you doing pretty much exactly the same things, maybe slightly better. You can just work
harder to get 2%.
Correct.
Like, I'm just going to bust my butt even more.
That's right. 10x mentality is a completely reframe on a new focus. It makes you immediately say no to things that are going to keep you stuck in that path. And then you have a very limited option of the things that will actually get you to a 10x goal. And that's the whole concept behind it, is that you can no longer do all of these. There's probably 500 things that could get you 2 times better, but maybe there's 4 that could get you to 10x. And what if you focused all of your time and attention and setting a time frame for those? So the book, it's how I've been leading my coaching sessions. And I think it really applies to the work that you and I both do. I've been doing so much coaching in my mini mastermind right now. And let's just say they have 10 monthly donors and they're like, oh, our goal would be 50. I'm like, okay, well, you can kind of keep doing the same things and you're probably going to end up at 50. But like, let's talk about, what do you actually need?
And it makes you think differently. And the other thing, I think you'll love this. I was thinking about an organization client this morning that We did a launch campaign for a new program that we developed, and they moved from 50 to 100 donors, recurring donors, which was like 100% growth, like super cool, like so exciting, thrilled. And really, we were like totally thrilled. But I was thinking about this morning, and this was a few weeks ago that they got those results. I was like, we need to have 1,000 donor goal. And not just because, oh, that's 10x 100, but because it's going to cause us to think differently. Because otherwise, we're just going to keep kind of tweaking our way to 125 and 150 and so on and so forth. And so I do think that for your listeners, that Science of Scaling is the one book, and the other one is 10x is easier than 2x are really interesting. But, and Dana, you were talking about like, what are some of the things that I'm seeing? I think the other thing is that not only they believe it's for them, but they actually create ownership within the organization, and they equip that individual or that team. And so two sides. Number one, obviously ownership sounds easy, but it's not. It's like, okay, who's the person who's responsible for this? And then the other mistake I'll see, Dana, is that they'll say, well, we have this intern who has a lot of subscriptions, and so we've decided they're going to be responsible for it. And I'm like, that's wonderful. Have you resourced them to actually be able to do anything? Number one, do they have the authority or influence to actually make a difference? Are they being equipped? Like, are you giving them access to expertise or whatever? I mean, one of my visions for the Center for Sustainable Giving, I mentioned that fourfold mission. The first pillar is teach them to fish. Like, how do we equip and train? I want to train 10,000 nonprofit leaders to grow recurring giving. Like, they have the skills, the frameworks to grow their own program. And if you create that ownership, which is the first step, that someone is responsible, you have to then actually equip them to be able to do something about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting. I get asked a lot, and many of you might be thinking this, like, what conference should I go to? Do you recommend this conference? And then my question back is, well, what are you focused on right now? Where do you actually need to be? Who's speaking? Who's attending this type of event? Is there the networking you're looking for? Is there a session or sessions? I know both of us have monthly recurring giving events that we put on. Is it more worthwhile to invest in a smaller, more intimate with your professional development funds if that is truly your focus? Is it more worthwhile? And I hope there are more sustainer positions that become as common as an employee as a major gifts officer that we see, and that we can look back in 5 years and be like, wow, LinkedIn has a surplus of sustainer role job descriptions that people are looking to hire for. I think that is so crucial because there really hasn't been. And something that I have loved doing is just knowledge sharing, and have now the Sustainer Slack group. It's free, by the way. I can link to it. It has nearly 500 nonprofits in there sharing ideas, perspectives, questions. And I wanted to bring one up that came up today for you, because I think one, you would get a kick out of it, of the question, and I would love your response. Someone said, is there one way to grow monthly giving?
That's an easy one. No, there are a dozen ways, but what's the silver bullet, right?
Right, exactly. I think we're all looking for like a silver bullet.
I was speaking at an event in Dallas this week, and I didn't get that question, but I got basically a question that basically was that question, which is, you know, what should we do at our organization? Should we focus on acquisition of new donors as recurring right from the get-go? Or should we focus on conversion? Should we use the phone? Should we do live events? Should we blah, blah, blah? And I said, you know, in my experience, every organization that I've ever worked with has what I call natural resources, like things that are just specific to them and who they are, and that they generally, in my experience, take for granted because they spend a lot of time thinking, well, I don't have what that other charity has. I don't have a celebrity founder. I don't have community development model. I don't have whatever. But then they're like, I'll give you an example. One of our clients, we did a deep dive, kind of just look at their program and what's possible. And one of the things that came up was that they are a faith-based organization, and they have an event that they do that churches can ask them to come and host this event. And they have 400 churches throughout the country that are like, yes, come and take over our church for a gathering and do what you do. I don't know about you, but there's a lot of nonprofits in the faith-based sector that would love to have that opportunity. And this organization, they were essentially taking it for granted. So it's like, oh, well, you have this natural resource. Like, how do we actually connect the dots to not only what you're doing to sustainable giving? And whether it's your connections or your footprint, you have boots on the ground, so to speak, or you have a live event or whatever it is, it's like, what's your specific set of natural resources? And then how can you tap into
Yeah.
those?
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, it's all so good. We are in a world hungry for change, and nonprofit impact matters more than ever. Yet every day, you're asked to do more with less time, fewer resources, and tools that weren't built for the way nonprofits actually work. But what could you do with more? That's the promise of Bloomerang. They are a trusted giving platform built for purpose. Bloomerang integrates fundraising, donor, and volunteer management into one really intuitive platform. It really connects your data to reveal real opportunities, showing you who's ready to give, when to reach out, and how to deepen every single relationship. So instead of juggling a bunch of systems, you're building momentum. And instead of guessing, you're truly guided by insights. And we're not settling for good enough anymore. We're raising more, retaining more, and inspiring more generosity year after year. When tools are built for purpose, your mission truly goes further. More connections, more confidence, more impact. And that's how we like it. So you can learn more about how you can do more with more at bloomerang.com. That's BLOOMERANG.com. Dave, how do we change it?
Well, and you said it a minute ago. Like,
Yeah, like it seems so weird to say 2030, but like if we look at 2030, how do we look back and see, oh yeah, there's a significant, what do you think is going to actually make habits change?
well, I think, and you and I have already talked about it. The beauty of this space right now is that the habits are changing, whether we do anything about it or not. Subscription economy's been doing its thing and will continue to do its thing. And you've probably heard this, Dana, as an aside. People are like, well, but aren't subscriptions kind of like passe now? And it's like, hello, like the burnout subscriptions that like fooled you into them, those are passe. Those are not going to work in a sophisticated, mature economy, but subscriptions aren't going anywhere. So like my kids, it's like I grew up where subscriptions were like Reader's Digest, you know.
Valuable subscriptions will not go away, things that you find a direct value to. So habits are changing. The subscription economy has been around for, a long time now. But yet, like, according to the FEP data, the Fundraising Effectiveness Project, everyone can go check it out. That just released about a couple weeks ago at Icon, is that the average nonprofit is net nothing, net no new recurring donors. And I know that there's a wide sweeping of sizes of organizations, but when I hear something like that, and I'm like, what? How? Like the business of subscriptions has been around for a very long time, and there's been very successful. Every AI base is a subscription. Your doorbell is a subscription. Like, do you think there will be a radical habit change quicker now than there has been in the past?
Well, I guess the reason I think the subscriptions are a good thing to look at is because, and we're talking about the modern subscription economy, not the stuff that's been around forever. As much as it seems like it's been around for a while, it's like I said, it's about 12 years old. If you do by most measures, the quote unquote subscription economy is 12 years old. And the reality is it's only just now starting to mature, which is why I think people are like, well, aren't they passe? It's like, no, it's called like they either are legitimate businesses providing a valuable service or they're not. And the cool thing, the reason I'm so optimistic about 2030 and beyond, not just on that front, there's some other things to talk about, is because the philanthropic effect is only just starting. And so we saw this with digital. You and I, we joked about new media. Like there was probably 10 years of consumer conditioning, normalization of spending money online and buying things related to your social media profile before any significant philanthropy was happening. And I remember it was 2000, I think it was 2008. It was the Haiti earthquake or the Indian Ocean tsunami. I think it was the Haiti earthquake that happened. And it was like overnight, air quotes, overnight, the American Red Cross partnered with Facebook and raised $30 million in a day. And it was just like this mind-blowing sudden development. And I'm like, that sudden development was 10 years in the making. And so I think we're 10 years in the making of what we're going to see with recurring giving.
Just in time to nearly celebrate my 50th.
Your 50th? Are you 50? What are you saying here?
Well, nearly. I'm 37, but 10 years from now-ish will be at my 50th.
Yeah. But I do think we have a bigger fish to fry. And this is one that's going to take a little longer to think about. And candidly, one of the reasons why we founded the Center for Sustainable Giving was, how do we actually impact generosity? I'm a dad, I think of my kids, right? How do I make sure they're growing up in a world where their generosity is real and not just a tip or a tax, advantage or whatever? And so I do think that's not on, thank God it's not just on you and me or a handful of people, but I do think that recurring sustainable giving does have a role to play in that kind of inspiration of generosity. We do some interviews for clients. We do research for them on their sustainable giving. How do we improve that? And as a part of that, we'll do these different in-depth interview formats where we'll actually talk to donors and interview them. So I was actually interviewing a young donor about 2 weeks ago. And she said, I grew up around faith. I'm not engaged in any faith presently, but I remember my parents and I remember the discipline of giving. And that just seemed to me to be super important. And so when I got my first real job, I went to nonprofit XYZ, one of our clients, and said, I want to make sure I'm giving to fight this, fight issues that are important to me. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. How do we see more of that happening?
Yeah. I mean, leaning into this a little bit more, what do you think needs to happen that's creating that kind of weaving that into the makeup of the younger generations? And I think part of it is on the organization side to have messaging that's leading in this way to call people in to want to give in a recurring capacity. That can be one part of it. 2, Black Friday is still significantly more well-known than Giving Tuesday. How do we start to see these changes of just overall, kind of what we started with talking about taking up space? What do you think will cause that rise in, I call it the micro philanthropist, but this next generation bubbling up as sustainers? I'm making you get real philosophical and macro here.
Yeah, it's such a big question. So we've already talked about the sort of consumer trends that I do think are creating the conditions in which we can tap into this. I do think there is an element of culture, and that's a piece that's tougher to nail down. How are people being taught to be generous? And again, I go back to thinking about this as a dad, and I think that's a big part of our parenting is how do we teach generosity to our kids? I remember when my now 12-year-old, this was a year or two ago, she and her sister had done a fundraiser for an organization that fights human trafficking. And they were super excited about it. And they did a little bake sale and created, my daughters are Emma and Paige, and they created Emma and Paige's Patisserie for Freedom. So very French.
Oh, I love it.
Which was very fun. And so they baked macarons and cookies and sold them and gave the money to this trafficking organization. And it was so cool.
They baked macaron. They did that?
Oh, yes. And I'm God bless them. I love cooking, but if anyone on the show has ever made macarons, they're insane. And
That's very impressive.
It was they were on cloud 9. They had done this, they had set a goal and exceeded the goal. And they were just their minds were blown. And it was just such a special experience for them. And so we celebrated that as a family. And one of the things that we talked about was that giving makes us feel good, but it's also a discipline. It's something that we do, in this case for our girls. Hey, your mom and I give to these organizations on a regular basis because yes, it feels good, but also it's a discipline that we have. And so it's not always about the high highs and the mountaintop experiences and the kumbayas. And so I'll never forget this moment when my now 12-year-old came to me and said, Dad, I've been thinking about it and I want to give. And she wanted to give monthly. And this wasn't just because Daddy wrote a book about it, but it was she wanted to give to 3 charities. But Dana, her allowance is $12 a month. So she's she basically wants to give $1 And she wants to spread it between 3 charities. So she wants to give $1 every 3 months to these different charities. And so she went to one of the charities was our local Humane Society. And she was like, I want to help. She just loves animals and pets. And so she went. And I was like, there's no way the local Humane Society website is going to take $1 per quarter. Like that's going to break the, I'm sorry, minimum donation or whatever. And to their credit, Kitsap Humane Society took a $1 per quarter transaction, and she got a welcome letter from the director in the mail, and she was just on cloud nine. And it's like, so once every 3 months, she gives her $1 to the Humane Society, and she's learning that discipline, right? And so your question is such a complicated one, but I just come back to this, like, how are we normalizing this? How are we making sure this is a habit?
In our homes.
Yeah.
I think it's very true. I mean, you have me thinking back to, I grew up going on mission trips since forever. I mean, I was in Girl Scouts. I was going on mission trips when I was in middle school, like traveling trips. You're right. It was ingrained in me as my parents tithed to church every week. Like I saw the checks go in, the physical bowls like going around.
Wrote these paper things and then they tore them out.
Yeah. No QR codes back then. And I think that's so true. And it's so interesting. Just yesterday, so Kennedy's 3, just turned 3 on April 8th. And I was rushing. We were just talking about this. I was rushing to drop her off at like 7 a.m. so I could get downtown for an 8 a.m. interview on Atlanta News First to talk about this, to talk about Monthly Giving Awareness Week that we're in. And I really briefly told that to her teacher. She's in in-home daycare. There's only 6 of them. And pick her up, whatever. We're sitting down at home. And it's just her and I. And I was like, hey, you wanted to see pictures from Mommy on TV. I'll show you pictures. And she goes, oh, no, Mommy, I watched it. And I was like, wait, what? She goes, yeah, Miss Connie put it on TV so that we could all watch you. And I was like, what? And I thought that was so sweet. And I was like, just like, again, just like bringing it into the home. And then Miss Connie even went to go like, oh, we've had her there for over a year. I didn't know you did work like this.
Creates a conversation.
Creates conversation, yeah, back into the home. So you and I could talk about this forever. I do want to highlight a partner of ours, speaking of this week, just to like celebrate, Give Butter is providing $10 for every new monthly donor this week. I don't know if you were aware of that, listener. If you are on the platform, $10 for every new monthly donor. So if you didn't have a campaign or you want to send out a quick email, see if you can get some momentum with that. It's kind of like a fun match. Again, just for this week, the 11th through the 15th of May. So go check out sustainablegiving.com.
Yeah, sustainablegiving.org.
Oh, .org. Thank you.
.com will go there too. That's
Great.
the beauty of the internet.
Redirect.
But sustainablegiving.org, if you want to learn more about the center or the work that we're doing on that training, it's advisory, it's insights. I mean, we've got 190 articles and podcasts and all that stuff up there. And this is the piece, Dana, that you and I have talked about that I'm so excited about, is how do we facilitate a really healthy ecosystem of providers who are bringing those sustainable giving best practices. And so you can see some of our certified sustainable giving providers there. And my hope is it becomes a home for that kind of stuff. And we get some guest Dana Snyder stuff on there and
bring all the goods, make it a one-stop shop. Get everything you need and the resources you need, no matter where you are in your journey. And this is the other thing is at Icon, and I didn't tell you this, but the question I would ask as people would walk by was, tell me about your monthly giving program. That's how I started nearly like every conversation. And 99.9% of the responses were, well, and it was like this like degrading, like we have 1, we have 4, we have 20. People would even discount, we have like 50, we have like 200. And I was like, why are you not celebrating that? Celebrate the 4, celebrate the 25, celebrate the 5,000. Like if we can envision kind of we talk about the belief, the possibility, and what can happen, the momentum, the can-do attitudes, like it will come if we invest the time. And so I don't want anyone here to have any judgment around where you're at in this moment right now. The exciting part is that all of us have a choice to be able to decide where we want to spend our time, energy, money, resources. And I hope that you'll just consider headed to any of the work that Dave or I or Erica or anybody in this space is focused on. So excited for what you've created, what we've created collectively together, and all the movement that will happen in this space.
I love it. Well, and thanks for Catalyte. You're such a catalyst Monthly Giving Awareness Week. Fun fact, the very first recurring giving monthly giving program was founded on May 24th in 1815. This is in the US. So just a mere 211 years ago. And so I feel like it's fitting.
Almost as
that
old
we
as the
made
United
May.
States.
Yep. Goes back to the nation's founding. So it's an ancient reality that is, I think, being refreshed anew.
That's right. That's right. Amazing. Dave, thank you so much for all you do. And here's to the next episode when I have you come on and we'll talk about how amazing things have shifted.
Let's do it. Will be a good history lesson.
There you go. See ya.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Missions to Movements. If you enjoyed our conversation and found it helpful, I would love for you to take a moment to leave a review wherever you're listening. Your feedback helps us reach more change makers like you and continue bringing impactful stories and strategies to the show. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button too, so you'll never miss an episode. And until next time, keep turning your mission into a movement.